Welcome to the Network Engineering Video Blog. I'm your host, Michael Crane. Well, today we're going to talk about how to put multiple networks on one Ethernet switch, and we're not going to use the Dot1Q trunking for this. And what that is basically taking this Ethernet switch, this 48-port Ethernet switch, and breaking it up so it looks like it's 4 or more Ethernet switches. The requirements I want at least 4 networks on here, independent networks on here, without using a Dot1Q trunking. We're going to we want to be able to monitor traffic on all the networks simultaneously. I want to keep my external management port, and in the future I want to implement the Dot1Q trunking. Okay, so currently in the red is the way it's set up now. Now normally when I set up an Ethernet switch, I put the trunks or the uplinks on the upper ports, or the right hand side if you will. And then I start the access on the left side. Then I just keep the access, I'll keep provisioning up, and the trunks I keep provisioning up until we fill the switch up. But for our lab setup, we don't need 48 ports for just one network. And so we're going to want at least 4 networks for our lab setup. Now what I'm going to do when I partition this is I want to make sure I keep these last ports down here for the management and the monitoring ports. So that'll check these 2 boxes. So what I'm going to do is I'm thinking about maybe 10 ports per network. All right, so there's 10, 20, 30, and 40. Okay, so this will be the 192.168.10 network. We'll just leave that the way it is. We'll make this the 192.168.10.11 network. All right, and this will be the 192.168. Well, we'll just call this future. We'll call these both future and future, because we don't know yet. This right here we do know. All right. Okay, so this is where the art of network design comes in. I don't know if art's quite the right word, and try to think, exactly how you envision the network growing in the future. So, like I was saying earlier, usually when I provision an Ethernet switch, I have the access on the left, the trunks on the right. I provision access up, I provision the trunks down, and when they hit the middle, the Ethernet switch is full. All right? But now we're going to have, forget this right here, we're going to have a little, basically 10-port Ethernet switch, right, for the VLAN 10 access, or VLAN 10 I should say. So if I stick with my convention of access on the left, trunks on the right, if I move these uplinks to this little 10-port Ethernet switch, that's only going to give 1, 2, 3, 4 open ports. Now, I know in the future that we're going to implement Dot1Q. And so usually when I implement Dot1Q, I have the different networks in each segment, and these are all access. Okay, so the different networks these are all access ports. And then I usually keep the trunk ports over here in what I think I called earlier the management. These are the trunks for this network. And then one of these other ports could be the trunk for this network or this Ethernet switch, and one of the and then I know all my Dot1Q trunks are over here, right? They're not access. But since we're doing this without the Dot1Q trunking, I'm very tempted to just move everything over here. But then I know in the future I'm going to be moving everything back when I implement Dot1Q trunking. And this is where you really have to be creative and try to think, okay, do I want to keep everything logical and clean and straight, even though it's going to be a duplication of work and moving cord, cables around, and then I know I'm going to have to move them back later, or do we provision for the future? So another thing you might be thinking of as well is, well, we could make these partitions bigger, give them 12 ports per Ethernet switch. We'll call it a virtual Ethernet switch. And that would chew up all the way to 46 here. The problem with that is, what if you only need 8 ports? And what if one of your others need, one of your other virtual Ethernet switches needs more than 10 ports? It's a coin toss. And this is where the art of network design comes in. And if you're creative, you can come up with some very elegant solutions to these type of problems that in the future will make it real easy to upgrade. And this step is missed a lot. You think setting up or laying out an Ethernet switch is pretty simple, right? It's just an Ethernet switch. Just plug a bunch of stuff in and let her rip. So what do we do? Well, here is the solution I came up with. We want to make sure we keep our mind on the end goal. So future Dot1Q expansion. So I want to stay with the trunks and management staying on the far right and the access on the left. Now we also discussed how many ports. Well, with all the trunks over there, having 10 ports on VLAN 10 was not necessary. So what I did is I put a dotted line right here after 8 ports. So 1 through 8 is going to be VLAN 10. Then I'm going to skip 2 ports, 9 and 10, and I'm going to start from 11 to 18, and that's going to be VLAN 11, right? So these guys right here are going to be spares. Okay, so where were we? Yeah, so 9 and 10 are going to be spares. 11 through 18 are going to be for VLAN 11. These are access ports, right? 19 and 20 are going to be spares. 21 through 28 are going to be for VLAN 12. 29 and 30 will be spares. And 31 through 38 are going to be for VLAN 13. And then we're going to have 39 and 40 as spares. And I know this looks pretty convoluted, but it's really not that bad if you think about it a little bit. So what's going on here? Let's say you fill this whole thing up and you need a couple extra ports. Well, you've got 9 and 10 as spares. So you can actually use 9 and 10, right? Or vice versa. If you fill this whole thing up, you can use 19 and 20. And so on and so forth. You kind of get the idea. And actually the opposite works too. You've got a couple extra ports on the top side here. Need more trunks, you can start assigning these as trunks, right? These can be trunks. And if that starts squishing your VLAN 13, then you can just come backwards with it to 29 and 30, and it kind of gives you some room to to dynamically move things around without really messing up your whole trunks on the right, access on the left concept. To me, that helps us with the Dot1Q expansion, because what's going to happen is, let's say we want to put VLAN 10 and VLAN 12, and they're both going to the 3845. Well, we already have a 3845 uplink, so what we'll need to do is put those two VLANs on this one uplink, and the way you do that is, of course, with Dot1Q. Okay, so enough with me blabbing along on the theory of laying out a 48-port Ethernet switch. And if you haven't fallen asleep yet, let's do some provisioning. This probably goes without saying, but I'll say it anyway. Before you do any kind of major provisioning like this, make sure to do a show config or a show run, and copy everything off of that, paste it into a text file, and save it somewhere. So I copied the picture out, and so we could use it to set up our Ethernet switch. And I think what I'm going to do, the good news is the stuff in red right here for VLAN 10 and the uplinks aren't going to change, because we're going to leave them exactly where they're at. So that's good. The monitor port's going to stay the same, and so is the external management port. So yeah, we don't have to do anything with that. That's good. So we're not going to have to delete a bunch of config out of here. So here is port 1 through port 3 right here, right? And they're the access ports, right? And if you go down here to, I kept calling it trunk when we were laying this out on the whiteboard, and but they're actually access ports as well. So 44, 45, and 46 are all access. So there are no trunk ports in here. So I just wanted to make that clear. We are not using Dot1Q trunking this time around. So really the only thing we need to do is just finish provisioning the rest of these ports. I am going to leave all the non-used ports in the shutdown state. I highly recommend that. If a port is not being used, I always keep it shut down. Okay, so let's get started. And I'm just going to start from the left and go to the right. Let's start with ports 1 through 8. As you can see here, 1 through 3 are already configured. So we just need to do 4 through 8. So it's config T, interface, range, fast. Let's see, 4 through 8. Oops. And it is 10 slash 4 through 8. Okay. And actually, I'm going to do all of them, and I'll show you why here in a second. So we're going to do 1 through 8. All right, and I'm just going to copy and paste this stuff. So we want it on VLAN 10, right? Switch port mode is going to be access. We don't need this load interval. That's for the stats. I guess we could put it in here, and this spanning tree in here. I don't remember us setting up spanning tree. We'll go ahead and add it. You have to be careful with spanning tree. Spanning tree spanning tree has caused more outages in my career that I've seen than any, and all other protocols combined. I've seen more outages with spanning tree. So you got to be pretty careful with it. But since we're just got one switch here, and I don't remember why I provisioned this. I know we haven't done a video on spanning tree, because that'll probably take a couple of them. But I turned it on for a reason. I'm sure I was probably doing some failover testing or something. I don't remember. Anyway, we'll go ahead and keep it on because we are going to use spanning tree eventually. Okay, so and that basically made all 8 ports identical. And the reason why I did that is because I want to add a description. And I'm going to say this is for the Cisco 3845. I'll just call it Network 1. All right. And we're going to exit out of this. And the next group we're going to do is 11 through 18. So I'm just hitting the up arrow here. And we're going to do 11 through 18. All right. And we're going to do, this is going to be, let's see, switch port mode access VLAN 11. Okay, so, I created it for me. So that's very nice of them. Okay, and so it's going to be access, load interval 30, and spanning tree port fast. Okay, yeah, so it's just warning you pretty much what I was telling you about. The dangers of spanning tree, and it seems to be leaning on this port fast, but that's just that's just so spanning tree will bring the link up faster. So anyway, we're okay with it. So okay, and in the description, we're going to say this is going to be the Juniper M5 network number 1. All right. And you can probably see where this is going because we're going to have a Cisco 3845 network number 2 and a Juniper M5 network number 2 in the future. And we'll need to know which is which, and that's at that time we'll turn on the Dot1Q trunking. So, okay. That was kind of the spoiler alert. So, okay, we've done that. I went ahead and gave these other VLANs IP addresses and VLAN IDs because I kind of know what's going to happen in the future, and so I'm just going to go ahead and provision it, so I don't have to bore you with that again. So I'm going to go ahead and finish provisioning these real quick. Let's see, interface range. Let's see, we're looking for 21 through 28. 21 through 28. All right, and we're just going to basically just going to copy and paste this guy. He's going to be VLAN 12. Okay, it created it for me. And there's the stuff we can just copy and paste. Yeah. We know. You're very concerned for our safety. All right, and let's see here. Okay, last one is 31 through 38. Through 38. All right. And this will be VLAN 13. All right, create it for us. Thank you very much. Okay, copy, paste. Yep. All right, and let's do a Control C and a write on this. All right, and let's go look at our config. So we'll do a show. Oops. Let me clear this guy off real quick. Reset terminal. Clear scroll back. Do a show config. Oh, I did a write, by the way, so it saved the run config to the startup config. Okay, so I copy all the clipboard. No, edit, paste. Alright. So these are our extra ports, 39 through 43, is that right? Yeah, the 2 spares. Oh, I guess I should give these guys maybe descriptions. So yeah, let's do that. So so we kind of remember what we're doing here, right? So let's see, let's move this guy off over here. Okay. Let's do a config T. And this is going to be interface range. Fast Ethernet. Let's see, 9, 10, 19, 20, 29, 30, 39, 40. Whoops. Oh, I didn't like that. They gotta be kidding me. What? Oh, my bad. Let's see. What was our previous one? 10/. Ah! Well, dang nabbit. Okay. And all else fails. Let's see. We want 9 through 10. It doesn't like the commas? Oh, maybe it's 1, 0, 11. Oops. What was the next one? 19, 20. Yeah, see? Comma. Oh, you... Cisco. I tell you, these guys drive me nuts sometimes. Okay. So, you can't put the comma right next to the number, like in real human language or writing. Okay, so 1, 0. Let's see where we at. What was it? 19 through 20, space, comma. And then 1, 0 slash 29 through 30, space, comma. And then 1, 0, 39 through 40. 39 through 40. Now this is... yeah. Yay! Okay, hope you guys got that command. You have to put what it is. It's a fast Ethernet. Anyway, all that for a description, right? And these are going to be spares. Alright. Now for the next one, let's see. We want interface range. Let's say 44 through 43. Fast. 1, 0, 44. What did I say? 44 through. Oh, sorry, it's 41 through. Oh my. Can't read my own writing. Through 43. And description is going to be trunk. Or uplink, I guess. And I don't remember, did we put a description on? No, we didn't. Okay, so let's go ahead and give, oops, I'll give this last guy a description. This is interface. This is going to be 44 through 46. And this is going to be description, uplink to uplink slash trunk to 38 to Cisco 3845. All right. We are Control C and right. Okay, I'm going to reset the terminal, clear the scroll back, show config. Copy all this to the clipboard. See how easy it is to back it up all the time? Edit, select all, edit, paste. Okay. Yeah, so I added all our descriptions. So now, once you start getting more config in these, you want to know, what you're trying to think at the time, right? And so now we know these are the uplink to the Cisco 3845. Yeah, so now we've got our two networks. Everything's got descriptions on them. And that's good. Okay, so there's one last thing I want to show you guys before we get going. And that is, if you do a show VLAN, you see how it says the status, everybody's active and happy, and the birds are singing, and that sort of thing. Well, I have learned with Cisco that it is very prudent. If you find that your VLAN's not doing anything, especially when it was auto-configured like this, you need to go in here, do a config T, oops, and then do a VLAN 11, and do a state, and then do active, right? Let's see, do term on. Okay, and do that to each one of them. Let's see, VLAN 12, state active. Okay. VLAN 13, state active. I don't see anything coming up or down, but I'm telling you, if you plug something in and your VLAN doesn't come up, that is the problem. And for some reason, I don't know what it is, if it's a bug or feature or what it is, but it says it'll say status active, but trust me on this, do a state active when every time, especially if it was auto configured like it was doing for us. Okay. So one last thing I wanted to reiterate about this, and this is mainly for the newbies. I don't want to say newbies, but for, the folks aren't real familiar with VLANs. So when this VLAN ID means absolutely nothing to the rest of the network. Okay, you do not have to turn tagging on any piece of equipment you plug into any of these ports when they're set as access. Okay. This VLAN 10, 11, and 12 are strictly for internal use only. Internal being the use internal of the 3750. So, and that's what I'm saying. It behaves exactly like an Ethernet switch, just a regular, off-the-shelf, cheapo, Fry's special Ethernet switch. You can daisy chain these guys. You can do anything you want. They will be these virtual Ethernet switches that we just created will behave just like a regular Ethernet switch. The benefit is we can manage them all from one port, monitor on from one port. So that's good. Well, I hope you liked this video. I hope it made sense to you. It wasn't too long. I know this seems, for some of the more experienced network people out there, they're probably going to roll their eyes and say, well, this is pretty basic stuff. But I hope you got something out of it, and show you some thought process behind laying one of these things out. It's just not a matter of just plugging in cables willy-nilly. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments under the video, and I will answer them the best I can. And I'll see you later.